where we look at major issues in the political space. Sorry that we're starting a bit late this evening. Just trying to put things together to ensure we have a smooth ride on the show this evening. The house is full, the table is complete, and we have two major issues to talk about this evening on the round table. Barrister Curtis Adigba is in the studio with us. Nuruddin Adegbero is here. Joseph Olorunsho is also here with us in the studio, and we're about to start the conversation. We have two issues. The first one, the Senate is proposing to introduce diaspora voting and of course also mandate INEC to transmit results electronically. So we are going to ask ourselves. I can see Barrister Curtis putting up a smile, and Nuruddin also putting up a smile. I think this is a news that should excite Nigerians, that the Senate is already thinking about introducing diaspora voting. That's been on the table for some time. How we can create an electoral process that allows Nigerians who are outside the shores of the country, especially on the essential services, we can give them the opportunity to be part of the electoral process. So the Senate is looking at that, to introduce diaspora voting and also mandate electronic transmission of results. And so we're going to ask ourselves this evening, is that a good progress on Nigeria's call for electoral reforms? Does that translate to something very exciting, something very good? Because of course there's been a lot of call, especially after what has happened in the last elections. There's been a lot of call as to how we can fix our electoral issues. So should we get excited? Is it a good one that the Senate is thinking about diaspora voting? What will be the value of that? And then I think the most important is the second one, electronic transmission of results, IREV, real time, and all of that. So we're going to talk about every other thing surrounding this particular one. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting conversation as to what we intend to achieve with this proposal by the Senate. And then the second issue, we have a new sheriff in town. The EFCC has a new leadership. He has resumed office. Pastor Olukoyede resumes as EFCC chairman, and he's going to inherit a lot of bags and baggages. The Punch newspaper did a very wonderful article, a well-rounded report on the challenges before the new chairman of the EFCC. He's going to inherit about 25 abandoned cases against ex-governors and other, big Nigerians. Let's put it that way. There's a lot to deal with. When you were doing the Senate screening and the confirmation, I said that, look, there's a lot of work for him to do. He doesn't need to go too far. All he needs to do is to tell his aides to dust up some of these files, and we'll see how he's going to be able to really act on them. Would he be able to step on the big toes? That's one big question we'll ask ourselves on the roundtable this evening. And so we're asking ourselves, ultimately, now that the new EFCC chairman has resumed, is this a renewed hope for a real fight against corruption? I decided to use the renewed hope mantra because that's what the government has put before us. So would Pastor Olukoyede bring that renewed hope and vigor for what we can call a proper fight against corruption in the land? So those are the two issues for consideration in the roundtable. Like I said, the Punch newspaper reporters did fantastic write-up on the challenges before the new EFCC chairman. And one of the things I picked from that report was the number of ongoing, abandoned, incomplete cases before the EFCC. Especially, cases against former governors, some of them now serving in government, politically exposed Nigerians, all with no end. Some of them as far back as God knows when. Almost 2 decades now, the cases have been in different courts. But again, we've been seeing the FCC publishing convictions and successes against Yahoo boys. Against, so we need to ask ourselves, really, if we're going to fight corruption, I think we need to see some level of conclusion to all of these cases before the EFCC. So that will be the conversation. What can it do differently? show this evening. It's nice to have you in the studio, Barrister Curtis. Yeah.
Good evening, listeners.
The rains were going to cause some destructions, but thank God you're here.
Yes, renewed hope brought me here.
Okay. It's good to be hopeful, so we'll continue to keep hope alive. Nuruddin Adegbenro, I'm sure renewed hope also brought you here.
My own is not renewed hope.
It's what?
Can't renew hope. My hope is only with God.
Okay, your hope is with God, like every other Nigerian at this time. Joseph Folorunsho, how are you doing?
I'm fine. It's the transport that
the cost of transportation is, well, the cost of fueling an average V6 vehicle in Nigeria now would send anybody, except maybe you have some access to some loose funds here and there, but if you really do legitimate,
well, for I just filled my tank on my way here. It cost me 48,000.
48,000 naira. I'm sure if you do,
and the new minimum wage is
35,000. I'm sure if you do a daily movement, like you go out on the day, that will take you just an average of a week.
1 week. And that's because the fuel consumption system of that vehicle is very good. If I use other vehicles that have heavier consumption,
maybe 70, 80, 90.
4 days.
It's unfortunate. That's again the situation of most Nigerians at this time, and they're asking themselves. Yeah, I think there are questions. I think questions around the quality of the fuel.
I saw 1-2 days ago.
Look like red oil.
I was just looking up on that. It is 620. I was looking at this like this. Does this one look like fuel?
You know, Chief Zebudah say the beggar have no choice.
Yeah,
but we are literally begging now.
We are on our knees, really. A lot is happening. Like someone asked why a lot of Nigerians prefer to buy from major oil marketers. And unfortunately, the independent marketers own 70% of filling stations.
Even the major marketer you are talking about, there are two types. There are some that they are franchise.
Yes. Yeah, but they still carry the name.
No, they just carry the name.
But the operation is still like.
If you want to know where to buy fuel in Lagos, only where Faragons, Dubai, whatever.
Okay, the public vehicles.
They know where this one is complete. This one is not complete.
Well,
they know.
We'll continue to have this conversation. It's a very tough one, I must say, for a lot of Nigerians. But let's just go straight to the business of the day. Like I said, the first issue on the roundtable is the Senate's consideration for diaspora voting. And then, a legislation to mandate electronic transmission of results, which has been a major issue post-2023 elections. I think it's still one of the issues before the Supreme Court. So, again, ahead of the 2027 elections, the Senate is already thinking ahead. The Senate is set to amend the Electoral Act again to allow for diaspora voting, at least for presidential elections. Like, okay, if we can't have it for all of the other elections, at least we can have it for the presidential elections, to enable citizens vote, especially those on essential service abroad, such as military, paramilitary, and other security personnel abroad, embassy staff and other citizens. So that's a consideration for us, for at least Nigerians who are engaged in essential service for the nation, who are living out of the shores of the country. The Senate, in a communique issued at the end of a retreat in the Tᴜɪ̀ᴛᴛᴇʀ Akwa Ibom State, also resolved to also make electronic transmission of results mandatory from the next general elections in 2027, including the upload of polling units level results. That's instant upload of results and result sheets used at different levels of result collation. So there are ambiguity about, is it mandatory or not mandatory for results to be transmitted electronically in real time. I think the Senate is looking at taking that ambiguity away and making it mandatory. So the communique stated, relating to the use of technology in elections, remove the ambiguity evident in Section 64 of the Electoral Act 2022.
There's no ambiguity in Section 64.
Well, that is what the Senate is saying. So also make electronic transmission of results mandatory from the next general election in 2027, including the upload of polling unit level results and result sheets used at different levels of election. So I think we'll start with diaspora voting. And I'm going to start with you, Barrister Curtis Adegbenro. Before I know the issue of electronic transmission of results will take a lot of time because we need to go into all of that. But let's start with diaspora voting. What value will that bring? And do you think we can act that out, we can grind that out in the next election? It's about 4 years from now, so is this something achievable?
Well, I think it's good to aspire to greater things, and especially to adopt global best practices.
Yeah.
But the question is, are we ready? And can we do it? When we cannot transmit results real time. You understand? Now, the United States has been practicing absentee voting, voting by mail, which allows our citizens who are on essential services like military service abroad and embassies abroad to cast the vote for the president. And the states have also made provision for that, for governorship and Senate and House of Reps election. And what this simply means is that a citizen of that country will go to the embassy abroad or wherever is designated as a voting center and cast their vote. That vote is tallied and then transmitted first by electronic system, and then the physical cards themselves will arrive some few days later, so that if there is a dispute as to the number of votes cast, that in the process of recounting the vote, either statewide or county-wide, that can be tabulated and then the results again declared. Now, in a country where we are still struggling to collate results, transmit them
right from our local level here,
with layers and layers of one electoral officer to another, and then before the results can be declared. Look at what happened in the last election. What we thought had been left behind, that results will be transmitted
real time
from the polling booths to the IREC, and this will be tabulated. We had the 2011 system again, where professors will go to Abuja with their results after the collation at the state level, and then be asked by the INEC chairman, "Are you sure of the results?" There were even cases where he asked them to go back
and
when the calculation is more than
you understand. So
registered voters.
Look, I think the Senate should allow this country to learn how to walk
before trying to fly.
Now, when they talked about removing ambiguity in the law, there was no ambiguity, except the Senate will make a law to amend the attitude of Nigerians. There was no ambiguity in that law. Section 47 and Section 64 made it clear, mandatory, for INEC to transmit results. Now, if the same INEC is compared under a new law to be made by the senators, to say that the results, because it will hold up elections, because sometimes after voting, if the outstanding results of votes that have not been tallied are more than the differences between the candidates, results will not be declared. So we are struggling internally to declare results within 3-4 days. And we are talking of diaspora voting. Just look at the number of countries all over the world. And how slow the results will come in. So while I think it's a good idea, I think we should, let's try and perfect the local system that we have first. After all, if the fear or the concern is about disenfranchising some Nigerians, how many Nigerians voted in the last election in this country? Even those who went to the polling booth and were prepared, ready to vote. Many of hundreds of thousands were disallowed from voting by touts or political parties. Policemen stood by and couldn't do anything. Policemen that will stand controlling traffic, armed with AK-47, on election day when they knew,
acted helpless.
They didn't even come with weapons. They came with batons.
Some will be empty.
They came with batons, and the IGP explained and said, we didn't send our men out with weapons. They was on civic duty. So the issue is not about the law. We have adequate laws. Don't forget that before the last amendment, the 2010 electoral law amendment, the whole hue and cry was about President Buhari not allowing this amendment because he was scared his party was going to lose. The laws the National Assembly will make the bill and send the bill to the president. He will withhold assent over one concern or the other. Until finally we got that. And even when we got that and we thought we could move forward, the crisis became Section 97. that even members of the Senate and the House of Reps didn't know that it tied them from participating in
the primary process. Yeah.
So this is not about the law.
Okay.
I think that the Senate feels that Nigerians are downcast by what happened the last election, and this is red meat. Red meat to those who
to excite them.
Yeah, to excite them. But I mean, if you examine it critically, there is nothing there really. It's just a red meat flying a kite.
Because again, like I said, there's this conversation about shall or not shall. The argument has been that look, it's just INEX.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
You see, when these semantics come into play, it is because people lack the courage to do what is right for the country. Who does it hurt if INEC transmits results real time? If we want to improve our electoral system, if we want to make sure that those whom Nigerians voted for are those that are elected to the position, people don't understand that the process of recruiting leaders is as important as governance itself.
Yeah.
Because if you get the wrong set of people into power, you will suffer.
But before I get to Nuruddin and Joseph, there have been, again, a lot of Nigerians are annoyed.
No, okay.
A lot of Nigerians are annoyed with Professor Mahmood Yakub because he kept repeating before the elections that, look, we're going to transmit.
Are you not annoyed with him?
A lot of Nigerians. And that was the hope for a lot of us, that, look, we introduced beavers, which was to check the incidence of overvoting, to ensure that people were properly accredited and all of that. It was a very good innovation. And then the introduction of transmission of results real time from the polling unit was also something that a lot of Nigerians had expected. But before that election, Barrister Curtis, there were people who questioned our ability to be able to introduce that kind of level of technology. One, because of our own realities. There are a lot of voting will take place in far-flung areas where there was going to be problem of electricity, access to internet, and while those things were, I remember before the election, journalists had asked him severally, civil society organization asked him questions. I said, look, what, we understand the black spots and we fixed it. So but let's not go with what he said, because eventually we now yes. Can we
you recall that there were two stages,
yes,
where he was very emphatic about what could be achieved before the Senate, and when the conversations were going on about whether it was a possibility or not, and because of internet penetration,
electricity and all of the logistics.
Of course, Festus Okoye made it very clear on the basis of the results that they had. Close to 80 or 90% of the country was covered.
Was well covered, yeah.
And that was not a problem, and in short, certain political parties as in transmitting results on time,
real time, because the idea of the was use it to transmit results immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the INEC chairman came on TV and said, how could they spend these billions of naira public funds on this system and we abandon it? He said it's impossible. In fact, Festus Okoye
issued a press release
where he called those people who were speculating about INEC having decided to abandon the use of the machine to transmit results real time, called them derogatory names, and said they were compelled by law. He cited Section 64 and Section 47.
Without any form of ambiguity.
And then they couldn't do it. And they didn't even have the courtesy to tell the citizens and say, we are sorry. This was what happened. Now, like you said, a lot were riding on
a lot of hopes, honestly, on the electoral process.
A lot of young people poured out to cast their vote. And listen, like I said somewhere else, this had the potential to be the best election in the history of this country.
Yes.
But that election could have been won by the APC.
Even if the election results were transmitted real time.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, they had the biggest campaign. They had more resources. They had the better grand game. You understand? And they were going to win that election. Now, what happened is that with what INEC did, it left APC with a huge mess. And they're going to keep struggling for the next 4 years. That they didn't rig that election. Now, yesterday I was listening to Bishop Emeritus or Archbishop Emeritus John Anaeko.
Yeah.
And he nailed it.
And he was asked, so how do you feel? And he said, look, watching INEC chairman speak about the last election, setting his exams and marking it himself and giving himself a pass, I wept where I was. Because this same man gave Nigerians so much hope and dashed that hope. And he didn't even give a care in the world about what he did. So this whole idea, right now as we speak, you've been hearing him going about, how is summoning security meeting, how is going to, they've tested all the black spots.
Yeah.
They have done,
we have 3 elections coming in November. Yeah.
And all that. And they're going to, look, now, back to the point that you made. We have serious challenges in certain areas. We know that internet penetration in this country is not 100%.
Yes.
I don't even think there's anywhere in the world that is 100%. But the question we should be asking ourselves, what amount of results were transmitted real time? Because if they have done 20%, 30%, 40%, and then they say because of technical glitches or hitches, we couldn't do all, it would have been a different thing. This one, they didn't do anything and they didn't say anything.
No, it has not been completed till now.
Yes, until someone came on TV and said, I have just been informed by an ambassador that INEC has abandoned transmission of results real time. Before INEC now spoke to the issue.
That there were glitches.
And then they were telling stories. One story here first, and then the other story. Eventually they came out and said, we had technical hitches. And then we now heard, there were 2 billion attempts to hack their system.
Yeah.
And so they felt that it was not safe to transmit the result real time. So for me, like I said, the behavior of INEC forever left a question mark on that election. And that is, if the results were transmitted real time, I still believe that the APC would have won the election.
All right.
But that result that was not transmitted, the results that were not transmitted, and when the home said, and he should know better, he was an associate justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. He looked at one lawyer and said, young man, the court of law is not always a court of justice. So, whatever is coming out from the Supreme Court is still not going to address the issue in the minds of the people. If what could have addressed that issue was that simple step, transmit the results.
Electronically.
And I'm sure that even those who lost the election would have accepted it.
All right. Nuruddin Adegbinro, again, like I said, dropping the ball that badly from INEC, and of course, that's the hopes for a lot of Nigerians. That's because, like Barrister Curtis said, until questions were raised, until people, pointed out to the fact that results were not being transmitted real time. Even us as journalists, what we had thought was that on that day, results as they were being, uploaded on IRF Snap, the ballot papers, results were being transmitted real time. Now, we didn't achieve all of that in 2023. We have 4 years to plan now. The Senate is talking to that point, which means, well, maybe they understand that, look, that was one negative on the elections we had this year, and it is important that we fix that part of our laws. If there were any ambiguity at all, let us clear all of the doubts as to whether it was mandatory or not. Do you think that the Senate is on the right path, number one? And then two, this is what we should make, a point of agenda before we, start, get into the elections in 2027. Number three is, can we do it? Do we have the right? You are widely traveled. You've gone to almost all parts of the country. Do we have the infrastructure? Because I've always said that, look, from the little I know of Nigeria, it will be extremely difficult for us to grind out some of the technological innovations we are trying to put into our elections. Do you think all of these innovations are realistic based on our peculiarities as a nation?
Well, if we cannot believe the national chairman of INEC, can we believe the senators? I can tell you, nothing will be done
on this issue,
on that amendment, until 2026. If something is going to be done on amendment in Nigeria, we always do our amendment 1 year to the election. And go and check now. The one that was done in 2003 3 was done in 2002 now. The one of 2007, the election of 2008, it was done in 2006. The last one, you know, is 2022 now. The last amendment, 2022. Yes, so yes. It's always so.
Maybe,
that one.
Maybe they want to start early.
Who is going to be
Senate.
the head? Who is going to be the head of that amendment? The deputy Senate president, Abi. Okay. But one thing that is there is this: that we don't have the capacity. We have. We know some certain university when they started post-jam, you finish your result like this, you finish your exam like this, you get your result instantly.
No, we're talking of elections in every nook and place of the country.
This is about technology. We can do it. But the problem that we won't be able to do it is what Barrister Costa has talked about. Is human factor there now? Whatever you feed into gadget is what it's going to give you. The problem we have
that the system will not operate itself.
What is there? Whatever you put to system is what's going. But the problem there is that the human factor, and that's why you see that some of us are going to be having problems with whatever that comes from INEC because of what you remember that Professor Olukoyede talked to us on this program.
Yes.
You remember he issued one press release after some people said they would not transmit that result,
and of course clearing the doubts and assuring Nigerians that
he even issued one ᴜᴜᴜᴜ press release that he was calling those people names, different names. At the end of the day, this is the same Professor Olukoyede did not come to Nigerians and just apologize. One thing there is that we have the capacity. I have monitored election of Mali before their Rofo fight, then the one of Ghana. Anytime they are having their elections, do you know that Ghanaians in Nigeria, they normally vote? So it's not new to them now. They normally vote. They have a place in Agege. They use I think they have 3 places in Agege that they use. They have one in Yaraba, and they have for the highlands at their this ECOWAS whatever. That is where they use. And if you see the way they were so orderly, having our citizens abroad to vote is not a big thing. In fact, in their own case, it will be easier for our home. But the problem,
but the human factor is what you are talking about.
The human factor is the problem. If you have somebody like the wreck of Adamawa
handling diaspora voting,
to be the one
to collect the results outside.
To collect the result outside.
I said
nothing has happened to him up to now.
Nothing will happen to him now. I've said it. Nothing will.
You know, sir. The Adamawa wreck should not near diaspora voting.
That one is just
and do you know that there are a lot of them?
Oh my goodness.
And don't forget,
yes,
he happens to be. He was called to bar at the same period that
they were last week.
So, could you believe that there are a lot of INEC reg like that every part of the election? Then another thing again is that it's not that we don't have, as I've said, technology is technology anywhere. The human factor behind it is the problem. Then another thing again is this: the issue that ambiguity and we want to use. Let us be fair to ourselves. If INEC was given that huge amount of money to get all those gadgets, and it's not compulsory about our laws, please, instead of wasting all this money, they should have used it to pay ASU now. Because it's like we've just wasted that billion.
You should have done the normal manual.
We can go to the normal manual. If it's the manual you want to use, then the remaining money, use it to pay ASU, or you use it to pay resident doctors. All their
wasting it on election.
They are wasting on election and nothing to show for it. Then another thing again is this: if Senate is going to work, or National Assembly is going to work on that amendment, they should have 3 things to it too. Because all this one they are saying voting.
They've talked about I think 2 major issues.
Yes, but they need to have seen the list of what they want. They should add this one to it. What is going to happen to electoral offender, either INEC staff or any other offender?
Okay.
Instantly you should be there with it, so that anybody that wants to, maybe you want to disrupt the election, if it is 15 years imprisonment, you know that if you disrupt,
what you are dealing with,
you know what you are dealing with. And if it is INEC like the one of Adamawa Reki now, if it's going to be 20 years imprisonment, he will know I'm going to collect money from politicians, no, and after that I'm going to 20 years imprisonment. So what is important there is that it's not that it's difficult. Then another thing again that we need to look at is this: you see the issue of that our diaspora voting. To God who made me, there are a lot of Nigerians abroad they will be very, very happy. But my problem is just this. Can we copy from Ghana? Can we copy from Ghana? Did you know that the one they had in Nigeria, within the locality, you apply for if you want to be a collating officer or whatever, you apply. Fine, their numbers may not be as our own numbers,
the
but
population
the problem that I'm having is it not the same embassy that is giving people tough time to have international passport that will still handle it? That will still they may not be the one handling it, but it's still going to be at their own particular one. If there's going to be another way to do it,
the biggest problem you are going to have
on diaspora voting
is the fact that you don't even have a data on who is living abroad.
that to start with. Or the Senate is saying it's not saying all Nigerians. They are starting with.
You know, some people are living abroad.
they are using
and they are illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
You don't
No
even
records of them, yeah.
And they won't want to come out.
We can leave those ones out.
But you know what will happen? You see, I think people do not understand that in international law and under the concept of extraterritorialism, your embassy is part of your country, wherever
Yes.
it is.
Where that embassy is situated. Yeah.
And let me give you a practical example. If you go to our High Commission in New York, it's like any passport office in Nigeria. The attitude, the conduct, the behavior of even the workers themselves.
The Nigerian factor is
The
all
Nigerian
around
factor.
it.
In fact, when I took my daughter there to
Capture.
to obtain a new passport, we were lectured for about 1 hour.
On what precisely?
I mean, all kind of things, whether a Mr. or a Mrs., if you make that mistake. And after that, we were told that if you guys cooperate with us, your passports will come out today, otherwise you have to wait. And I asked,
Cooperation is important.
what kind of cooperation?
financial cooperation.
And then, well, the other experience and after that, they'll start prayers. Yes, and they say it's their break time. And after that prayer, you see people who approach you and say, if you want your own to come out fast, so there's something like this you need
But
to do.
we have a Minister of Interior that seems to be performing magic.
Listen, there is
Yes,
something. Look, I commend the young man.
for what he has been able to do so far.
I commend his zeal, and I do hope that he can sustain it, that he will not be consumed by the old lethargic attitude. Because you see, there's something called IGG, initial diagram.
And then it just fizzles out.
And thereafter it fizzles out. But so the point I'm making is that if it's possible to rig election in Nigeria, it's also possible to rig election abroad in our embassies, because it's the same attitude. And you know, the problem with our election is that majority of the politicians believe that they cannot win election without rigging.
That's the mindset.
As a political consultant, I can tell you that I've met with so many politicians. And when you say to them, this is the kind of message or the messages you should be out
That were there the people to you.
to try to bring in the people into your column, give them hope, promise them what is realistic. You understand? Make them happy, make them look to a brighter future.
Sure.
You know, and all that. And they will listen to you, but at the end of the day, they tell you,
They will do that.
"Oh, you're just speaking grammar. We know how to win election. All this grammar, and we have our men and women on the road. We know where we can change and manipulate the votes and win it. So the budget for rigging election
It's put aside. It's even bigger than the campaign budget.
is campaign. What are you campaigning about? Listen, look. Do you see what is going on in Kogi?
Yes.
That in every campaign stop is the incumbent governor who takes the microphone and speak to the people.
That's been the campaign of the APC in Kogi State.
And governorship candidate will be at the back.
In fact, if he wants to talk, like we are back to 2015 in Nigeria.
Even in 2000s, even during Obasanjo's era,
yeah.
it was Obasanjo that was campaigning.
You remember the Buhari campaign of 2015, where the current president will speak, the governors will
We
speak,
speak, yes.
and all that.
And then the candidates will speak
And
last.
then the candidate will simply come and say, we in the AFCC, this is what I want. And at the end of the day,
That's the end of the
at the end of
campaign.
the day, when Nigerians challenged him
I
about
said-
certain promises,
I didn't promise
He said
that.
he didn't promise you.
that they said he made.
I said he
He
did.
said, I did not make
was a
those
party.
promises.
He was the party.
He was the party. So this is the challenge that we're facing. The idea is good, but in a country that is struggling
to do the basic things.
To do the basic things, but to allow voters present in the country
to even vote.
To vote. Why is diasporan vote a priority?
All right, Joseph Olohunṣo, I think that again, like my psychologists have said, good idea, but again, we should learn to crawl before we begin to think of running. And of course, we also look at our own factors that we have not fixed the basic things that we do when it comes to elections. The human factor is also very important. Those two issues as raised by the Senate, do you think, like, you know, by psychologists have said, and Rodin, is just really to excite us, number one. Number two is we have 4 years to plan now. We can start to plan immediately. Nordin has said that we only wait for the last minute before we begin to think out with our electoral laws. It's always a year to the elections, and most times you begin to see vested interest, you know, from politicians, like we saw in the 2022 amendment, to the extent that even the Attorney General eventually
to go to court
had to go after his principal sign. They had to even go to court to begin to challenge what, you know, they signed and all of that. You know, so we know the human factor will be a problem, but can we begin to make it a point of agenda to push our legislators, the Senate particularly, to take the lead and ensure that, look, in 2027 we transmit results real time. Electronic transmission of results becomes the norm, not just you know, a decision of INEC they want to or not want to. Do you think it is possible? Are you optimistic?
Well, to me, in human dynamics, there's something that you first look at. Till tomorrow, some people are still questioning whether our Senate president is supposed to be a senator. Lawa is equally there.
But he's the Senate president, so we can move on with all of it.
They are still asking those questions, which means that you need to appeal to, if people are checking your identity and
legitimacy,
for you to talk to them,
and they will believe you.
It's extremely difficult.
But it's the Senate talking.
It's a Senate, but let's leave that one. Then the other one is this. I think if I will just add something to what Mr. Curtis said, that is actually, to me, is a distraction. Because, for example, you know, this last election, journalists suffer very well in Nigeria, in Lagos. INEC journalists, Lagos journalists, how do you call it? Clearance and they brought Oyo State home to Lagos.
Simple things became a problem. So I remember we got our own accreditation.
Yeah, so you now see that, they say there is material here, but it belongs to Oyo State or belong to Ogun State.
Oyo State was brought to Lagos.
This is just simple something.
Then the other one, human glitch.
Human glitch.
Okay. Now the other one
every time. Every time.
From that is deliberate. Then the other one is this. Before the diaspora voting, I think let the Senate see what they can do, that our uniform people, we should have a way that they should do their own voting before the normal vote.
The police
and
officers,
again, your police officer, even with journalists, sometimes for you to cover the whole.
So we should start with simple things like that. Yeah.
So let's come home, take care of that. By the time we tidy up that, we'll now say, okay, our brother from abroad, I think they are interested in casting
we can also
their
carry them.
I queue behind Ňụ̀rị̀dị̀n and Mr. Curtis that we can do it. In 2008, 2009, they demonize him anyway. Professor Debu Ojirinde, when he was the registrar of JAMB, he started trying to digitalize I think started by 20% CBT and 80%. Yes. And he said it that in 2015 that JAMB will be full blow
CBT exam.
And the man was moving that effort, and by God's grace in 2015 JAMB become purely
computer based test.
And you now look at it that it reduced that factor of one examination malpractice in JAMB
reduced to a great level.
Then equally the logistic money they spend in logistic moving question from
paper,
one paper to the other equally reduced. Then the accident that used to occur when a JAMB officer is moving from one place to another. So the issue there is if JAMB can do that, and every year they are coming up with those results, those still need improvement.
Yeah.
If INEC chairman talk to his own conscience and sit his men down and said, you know what, we have messed up. Because one thing for you to first of all agree that you made a mistake. INEC have never one day agree that they made, which is one of the biggest factor of any woman. If I must change, I first was okay. But Takoti have been telling me that Joseph, you are making me. Let me first agree first.
Agree that you.
But he tell me, oh, Joseph, I say no. You are telling me, I say, oh, guy, you are the one.
This is the best election ever.
Best. It is now performing very well. INEC is here to agree. Then the other one that they need to do quickly now is they should be able to say, okay, if the rec in Lagos mess up election in Lagos, it should be charged like someone that have committed like a coup. You understand? It should be charged
punishment.
Like, punishment should be there. Then secondly, whenever we want to do any election, the IGP will come up and say we are deploying so men
security
to cover the election. If there's any infraction, I think we should call them. Oga, you tell us that people in Okota go and cast your votes. Our men is on ground. The people who know should the solo go. The people in Ikorodu. If someone now down, someone you should be able to call the best Oga. You give us hope that security is top notch, but someone died. Please, can you come and answer one?
So call to question and security officials.
We must be calling them to, because in as much as after the whole tribunal and the rest of them, police are not punished. The wreck in Adamawa now, the man is enjoying himself.
Well, he's been running
then,
around. Yeah.
Forget that one. Then all the rest, those that conduct the election, nobody. Even when you know that this guy actually mess up the whole election, the guy will go with the little allowance they give to him, and the person that is shortchanged, as supposed to win an election, you give it to Oganyu. Why you already create crisis in that environment?
And they say you should go to court.
And the answer is you go to court. Go to court for what?
All right, but Mr. Curtis, there's again too many issues. And I think there are experts who have also said that, look, there's still this part of our electoral process that we should look into, and that's early voting. I've had to read through the electoral process in the United States of America and the different types of voting process. The fact that different states, there are people who do e-voting. There are some, it's ballot voting.
State of Oregon, nobody goes to polling booth.
So it's so flexible that they allow each state.
Florida, they have early voting
to choose what they like.
3-4 weeks before the election.
So
people start voting.
So there are people who have said that, look, can we begin to look at making the electoral process so flexible that maybe instead of having us come out on just a single day
shut down
the whole system, can we begin to look at early voting and using different types of voting system? For example, I think technology has become so big. You know, we are talking about AI. There's a lot of innovation. There are people who have said that, look, why can't I just sit down in my office and cast my vote?
You know that
there's mail voting.
LASU, student union election. Before the time, since the time of Agbon, nobody. You are going to vote online, and the result, pam.
So, you know, Mr. Curtis, so let's look at early voting, because again, even when it comes to the issue of election cases being determined in court before swearing in, there are people who have also the Electoral Reforms Committee report of 2008 by Justice Muhammadu Ways also talked about us conducting an election 6 months. So can we have a situation where we can conduct elections early, you know, stagger it?
I know your mind is running wide.
It should.
And I want to commend you for thinking these things through. But the reality, and our reality, is that these are improbable steps when we are still struggling with the basic elementary steps.
But we have to fix our problem, Mr. Curtis.
We have to face it, but we have to face it by dealing with the basics. And then we ratchet up, you know. Look at it, for instance. We are talking about a one-day election that the ballot boxes, the safety of the ballot boxes are not guaranteed.
It's not assured. Yeah.
From the polling unit to the local government collection center.
The problem.
So many of them used to enter voicemail. How are you going to secure the votes that you cast early?
6 votes. 3 votes.
No, the tally.
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
You see, okay, let me give you an example of what happened in a state like Florida. There's an early voting.
They allow for early voting in Florida.
Yes, and you can vote by mail, and you can vote in person.
That's thumbprinting ballot paper, in specific areas.
And what they do is they tally, because it's a voting machine really, where you go and thumbprint, push down, and so he makes a chart. Detach the complete paper, it's called a detached chart, into, and then the ballot paper itself goes into a basket, whatever. Now, on election day, people who want to come in and vote in person will also come in and vote. And what then happens after that is that the ones that were cast before the election day will first of all be counted before they now tally the in-person vote. And the results are announced almost immediately. Now, in our own case, where we don't even have electronic voting, it means it's the ballot papers
that serves as the
that somebody we have to keep and preserve
and tally eventually.
and tally eventually.
Hey.
Where are you going to keep it? That some hired goons will not have access to it. Even if it is the CBN, where is the assurance that if you had a CBN governor like Ḥɛ̀mɛ̀fɛ̀lɛ, who was an open card carrying member of a political party, what guarantee do you have that his party men will not be allowed access to those things?
But I think BVAS helped a lot with issue of overvoting, accreditation, and all of that.
To some certain extent, sir. I was in Ogun State during this tribunal. Sir, when they were checking it, I just had my head. There are some ballot paper. They use marker to tick like this. It's not that they told me, I saw it. Marker.
I have
they
seen
use
where
marker.
they use bitter cola. Remove the cover of bitter cola. Put it inside an ink and thumb printed.
But you know that would listen, accreditation will be difficult if that will not go through BVAS.
See, the problem is that even if you
The human factor.
the best fingerprint expert in the world, how can it deal with hundreds of millions?
No. What I'm saying is that you know again that was innovation. That was innovation with BVAS. That look, you can manipulate the ballot system, thumbprint, stuff ballot boxes, but it has to tally with
let me
what BVAS has recorded.
Let me tell you another method that they use to rig election, and you tell me whether BVAS can prevent.
Can stop this.
So, FUHAD is running for election. Nuruddin is running for election. Joseph and Curtis are the voters, and we voted for Nuruddin. Okay, let's say we have 10 voters. 3 voted for Nuruddin, 7 voted for you. Okay.
So is that they now turn it up.
So we have done accreditation in the BVAS, right?
So to show that 10 people voted.
Yes, but the agents of Nuruddin, who is losing the election, right?
Yes.
We have access to those ballot papers, and then double thumbprint
To invalidate.
To invalidate. So at the end of the day, they thumbprinted 5 of your ballots.
To invalidate,
leaving you with only 2 valid votes now against Nuruddin of 3. Who will win the election?
That's miracle.
How does BVAS prevent that? So look, I am not saying that BVAS is not a useful technological intervention.
Intervention, yes.
What I'm saying is that even with BVAS, INEC still has other rules that where BVAS refuse to work. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
And BVAS deliberately will be made to unwork in certain areas.
Well, like the issue of BVAS, even before the elections, we had said that look, one thing BVAS would do is to ensure that there's really no overvoting.
Yes.
But what happens to the vote eventually?
Okay.
BVAS cannot stop it, cannot guarantee it.
Yes.
And that's why in this last election we didn't have these huge figures. But the reality is that we are not even sure of the figures we're working with.
Let me tell you. When the votes are already counted and the ballot papers have been sorted out at the collation center,
Anything happen?
there were some collation center where the entire ballots were replaced with a new set of ballots.
That again this would have been resolved if there was real-time transmission, don't you think?
Yes.
Of results.
Exactly. That's why you saw mutilated results at the collation center.
So because if the results have been transmitted real time from the polling unit, that probably would have solved the problem.
We come back to the human factor.
Again.
Let's even use issue of the voting in the principal officer of the Senate. That is how let's even start at that level. You see that there's still a lot of questions that are being asked the way they are voting, which is I think it's electronic. You understand it? And you now say the president, a lot of people in presidency going there to go and guide them. You must vote in a particular direction to become a senator.
Are we saying, by Sakoba, I don't want to, again, I'm very optimistic. I remain hopeful. Are we saying that it is a hopeless situation?
No, that's not what we are saying. What we are saying is that why these steps are good and commendable.
That we're even thinking about it.
Yes. We should get the basic things right first.
What are the basic things? Let's talk about the basic things here.
one of the things that we don't do in this country is that we have periodic registration for voters.
Okay.
But you know that young people are qualifying to vote on daily basis.
Yes.
So it should be a continuous process.
In the United States, for instance, you can just, once you are qualified to vote, you can walk into an office and register to vote. In fact, there are organizations that are going from office to office, house to house, registering young people who have become
Qualified to vote.
We don't do that all the time here. Okay? Number two, the process of voting itself is so cumbersome. Like the last election, I waited for over 5 hours before I could vote.
Just one vote, and you want to vote for one person?
Yes.
Okay.
I voted. You understand? The queue was so much and it was so disorganized.
Even the registration process was
First of
tedious,
all, you have to go to a board
to check your name.
to check your name and take the number. And then you join the queue and write your names. And then they begin to call those names, the number one after the other.
Hey.
And in between, elderly people will come and they say, because they are
Pregnant
pregnant
women will
that
come.
they should be allowed. In fact, I had to, at some point, I went home, came back again. I was still far away from voting, and then I had to go back. Of course. So, but what I'm saying is that we can simplify this process and encourage more people to turn out. Two, we must also show or prove that the results of the election reflects the will of the people. You know, because of what happened last election, if you go about now as a journalist and begin to ask the young people of this country, many of them have given up hope about voting.
So it would destroy their.
In fact, they say we will
their
not vote again because our votes never counted. And the reason why they have that belief was because the results were not transmitted real time. Because you know, these are people, these Gen Z buddies, these are guys who are very good.
They are tech savvy and
when it comes to technology. So all the stories that INEC is telling about how the legs of the snake was shot and all that,
And
all
the body is low.
No, they are just laughing.
they're just looking at it and saying, so like again, because see, instead of looking at the fundamental problems of the election, INEC is there setting its exam for itself and giving itself pass mark. Because, and you know the only thing they are using to do so, because people traditionally projected to win in certain areas lost. That meant that the election.
I know that one is just one.
Do you understand?
They even use that based on the court, what the court has says about the tribunal. The 71%, they said the election was this thing. There's one, they only whatever that those people that the tribunal affirms their election victory, because of that they perform very well. All of us know. Number one, the tribunals have not finished. Even the House of Rep, even the one of Senate, even the governorship and whatever has not finished. Then two, you cannot even use that one.
You know the funny thing
as a parameter.
Country, one of the problems that we are facing in this country that has stymied our growth and progress is the court system.
Yeah.
And one of the major problems, or two of the major problems with the court system in this country, why the courts are clogged.
Our elections,
you take a matter to court, it can be there for the next 25-30 years and still not resolved. Do we understand that after every election cycle, before, during and after, we have thousands of useless cases that are filed in this court, and because they are
abuse of the court process,
because they are time bound, the judges or justices
have to attend to them,
must find time to attend to them. Do you understand?
I'm with you.
Do you also realize that one of the reasons why we have the courts also clogged are the activities of policemen? When they go around the city picking people, they have no business picking.
Poor investigation.
And then they bring them to court overnight cases. You heard the Minister of Interior saying the federal government is going to pay 500 million
for all manner of bad cases,
for people who shouldn't be in jail and who are there because they can't afford to pay the fines. Now, when your court system is perceived not to be strong or weak or corrupt, this is the problem you have. Foreign investors are not going to come and bring their money because what happens if there's a disagreement?
And then the
majority of them are going for international arbitration. Instead of going to our courts. So what we need to do, because you see, once the process of an election is credible, okay, or deemed to be credible, you're not going to have too many people challenge that process. The reason why we keep challenging our election results and even the nomination processes is because of the impurity in the system. The political parties in this country don't even have democracy in their system.
At all.
Internal democracy.
Yes, like he mentioned, if they had democracy, Akpabio whom is Senate president, look at what is even going on in the Senate right now, where senators are accusing their own president
Of not following the process.
or passing bills.
Or passing bill that was not discussed.
Not discussed. Yeah. And the Senate president has said that they have not gotten to the point of exchanging blows and punches.
You understand what I'm
And
saying?
that,
So
you know,
that's an achievement. So if we can, okay, if we like look at what happened, Machina and Ahmed Lawan,
Ahmed Lawan, yeah, in Yobe
where
State.
the only thing that kept Ahmed Lawan in the Senate today
Was the
after
party's
he lost
yeah.
was that the party submitted his name, and the court held that Machina did not start his lawsuit by the right procedure.
Technicality of
That was
the party.
The one of Akpabio nko. The one of Akpabio nko.
Yes, so
But there's one thing by Sarkozy, because I want us to move to the next issue.
Okay.
We need to set an agenda for the fight against corruption. I've said that the platform would be about agenda setting. Something happened. I think it happened during the week, and it's important we talk about it again, about the electoral process when it comes to court cases. The president of the appeal court has said that, look, there have been a lot of petitions and complaints at the state tribunals for election matters. And all of the cases at the appeal court now will now be heard in two courts.
Lagos and Abuja.
19 in the Abuja appeal court and then 17 in the Lagos appeal court. That he doesn't trust the 20 appeal courts to handle election matters because there have been petitions about all manner of shady deals going on at the state tribunal. And we've also seen situations where even tribunal judgments were done virtually. Almost for the first time in the country, we are seeing that, where judges cannot even go to the state to deliver judgment. Again, are there serious concerns about our justice system, especially when it comes to election matters? How should this work, to the extent that we have 20 appeal courts spread across the country?
they are not serious concerns, grave concerns.
That the president of the appeal can say, look, we can't do it at the state level again. Just come,
And that
centralize everything.
That is an attempt to clean the house.
Internal cleansing by the judiciary.
Look, let nobody tell you anything different, that our judicial system is corrupt, and it's corrupt by politicians and some lawyers who are their fronts. You see, so long as our political system rewards the winner with the highest profit, all it takes. Okay, look at what is going on now. Let's say Joseph, our colleague here, is elected to the House of Reps tomorrow. Joseph came here now, was complaining about fuel, right? The cost of movement. He goes to Abuja next tomorrow, is given a brand new Land Cruiser.
We'll not ask questions.
What 160 million. His position changes overnight so dramatically that he's forgotten everything that he went through. Look at the Labour Party representatives. The chairman of Labour Party said,
Don't collect. They say they will collect.
Why would they collect? I told you people in this studio that there are no fundamental differences between those elected on the ticket of Labour and any other political party. It's the same kind of values that we have.
Dog is a dog anyway.
What happened? What happened? The reason why those guys got elected was because many Nigerians were dissatisfied with PDP and APC.
So any name on the Labour Party, they just want to.
That's it. So it's not that they had different kind of values, because they have not demonstrated it anywhere. So the point we are making is that, look, why we desire to make progress, you cannot build a house without foundation. And it's unfortunate that after 23 or 24 years, we are struggling with our democratic foundation. The foundation of democracy, simply the rule of law and free elections.
Free and fair elections.
Yes. If you can't guarantee free and fair election, if the process of hiring your leaders is faulty, you can never get the right set of leaders.
All right.
And a quick one. Why we may not equally get it is, and a lot of people that are listening who are security personnel, especially police, we know see FUHAD, a situation whereby immediately you are able to manage to be a CSP of a police. Any other thing up, if you don't have political godfather,
now here you go die.
now there you go. Now
So political interference in everything that we do.
In fact, and police is the father and the beginning and end of a democratic system. You know, Oga, let me find a person so that I can accelerate my promotion. I want to see how he can be in position too, so that he can equally accelerate your promotion to become either assistant commissioner of police.
So too much political consideration in everything.
Political consideration. In as much as we continue this process, we are not. I don't think.
You see our judiciary, You see our judiciary. Even if I did not know about judiciary, at least Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo, I'm so conversant. Do you know that for you to be a judge, if you don't have, I think Pastor Curtis can correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't have political backing, in 3 ways. 1, if you don't have a relative, father, grandfather that happens to be a judge or a senior lawyer in this particular country, the same way every lawyer cannot be a son, you will suffer. 2, there are some certain chief magistrates in Lagos State, they've condemned them. That is where you are going to retire. Shebi will tell you, will call you for a case, you say you want to go by the law, that is where you are going to die. Number 2, if you don't have, then 3 is this: there are some certain judges in Nigeria, they have conscience, they want to work, but Yoruba will say wọ́n ti bọ́ sọ́wọ́. They are in the hands of the big guys. Maybe from their secondary school, maybe they ask one skeleton, maybe one before they get a position, maybe they are.
They've done all manner of things.
So and that is the problem. So in a situation in which, as a Nigerian, you are not sure that even if you take your case to court,
you get justice.
You get justice. And that is one of the problems. The edict that is in the court of appeal now, I must confess.
You know, even if since the president,
I must confess that particular level. You know, before government election doesn't pass court of appeal,
they have to take it to the Supreme Court. Yes.
I think it's going to be get to a stage where even a chairmanship election
or councillorship election
will get to Supreme Court, because the level of which some certain judges are using, they are using buying and selling. But you will hear, even if you don't know law, you will see some certain judgment that when you hear it or when you read it, you will know that nobody should tell you
that something don't shele.
That something don't shele.
FUHAD, in I think about 2014 or 2013.
Yes,
I was fortunate to travel with a lady that I later discovered was Justice Tᴜɪᴛᴛᴇʀ, retired Court of Appeal Justice. I was seated by the window of the plane, and I asked her if she could move to the window because I was restless. I said I was restless during flight.
Okay.
And she said, "No, young man, just sit there. If you
need and close your eyes.
If you need to get up anytime,
I'll start for you."
And as we made progress on the trip, she asked me, "What do you do for a living?" First of all, my name and what do I do for a living. And I told her I was a lawyer, and she said, "I hope you are not going to misbehave like some of your colleagues that you see around every day." And I asked her, I said, "What do you mean, ma'am?" She said, "Well, I'm Justice Tᴜɪᴛᴛᴇʀ, retired Justice of the Court of Appeal." And so we got chatting. We had a lengthy conversation from Lagos to London, 6 hours.
Or more.
Enough time to talk.
Enough time to discuss.
And she told me a story, very bad story. And she said, "I know I was a member of appeal court, appeal tribunal, an election case involving some governorship election, but I won't tell you the names of the people." And I said, "That's fair enough." And she said one Sunday she was getting ready to go to church when the house help came and said, "Mommy, there's somebody who wants to see you." And she said, "On a Sunday morning, who wants to see me?" And then she came down and saw this senior lawyer who had appeared before them at the tribunal, at the appeal tribunal. And he said, "Oh, ma'am, I happen to be in the neighborhood, and I know that you live around here. I just say, let me say hello to you." And she said, "Okay, but you have a case before me.
You shouldn't be
here. You shouldn't be coming to my house." Oh, he said, "No, forget about that. We have seen the other house also. It doesn't matter." So the guy left. Then the lady came and said, "Mommy, the man brought the bag. Oh, he gave me the bag. I put it in the kitchen." He said, what?
Maybe yams and tomatoes.
So she said, what kind of bag? Go bring it. She drank the bag. She said when she opened, she almost fainted. It was all money.
Foreign currency.
So he called him back. Listen, come and take what the nonsense you brought to my house. And the lawyer said, if you don't want it, you can give it to charity. We have seen the other people also. So what is your? And I said, didn't you see charity before you came to my house?
We want you to help us give it to charity.
If you don't come and remove that bag, I'm going to call the chief judge, the chief justice of the Court of Appeal, to report you and the chief justice of the Federation. Before the guy reluctantly came
and picked it
and took that bag. She said when it eventually sat at that tribunal, the appeal tribunal,
and was seeing some dissenting judgments.
The two colleagues were acting funny. And eventually they got the judgment.
And the hands of the dollar.
Yes. That woman died in 2015. I had cause to write an article about the story I've told you. While praising her courage and her honesty and integrity.
But anyways, nobody will fault your story by Mr. Curtis Adigba, because in the life of Nigerians, we witnessed.
People can even go and Google it.
I don't know.
And read the testimonies that people gave about the same.
I'm even saying that we were live when a particular senator Bukachua.
Oh,
Tell us.
He wasn't
on national television.
There was no gun to his head when he was telling that story.
I helped
a lot of you.
I used to interfere with my wife's job.
Yeah. I apologize to my wife. The former president of the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
And that is.
I used to help. I helped.
I did not collect anything in return.
Senator, this is
that's not the way to go. Senator.
Most distinguished. Do you want to go on that route?
I don't think it's a while. Anyways, it's still Political Roundtable Mainland 98.3 FM. And I think we may still have to talk about this issue of electoral reforms. What we need to do, to get our electoral process.
Serious reforms.
Serious reforms.
Total ones.
We need serious reforms.
Total reform. Total one.
Well, we need to move to the second issue, because it's also as important as electoral reforms. So I can see that messages are already dropping on our Facebook platform, Mainland 98.3 FM. You can drop your comments and contributions on our Facebook and YouTube platform. Be rest assured that when we open the phone lines, we'll take all the comments and contributions. So, I see Kyle Diolonode has dropped a message for us. Prince Wise is saying hello to everybody in the studio. We have Basil Chika, Sikiru, Agumbiade has also dropped a message. And so just keep the message coming. We'll try to take all of the messages when we start to, when we open the phone lines. Let's just move to the second issue on the round table. And like I said, we have a new sheriff in town. The EFCC has a new chairman. And the new chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Pastor Olukoyede, will inherit no fewer than 25 high-profile corruption cases involving former governors, ministers, and senators, reports have said. I did a long list. It almost took me 2 pages to write out a lot of pending cases, whether pending investigation, some of them not in court yet, some of them in court, some of them stalled, some of them nothing. We've not had anything again. I remember Willie Obiano, the former governor of Anambra State.
See that one.
So and one of our senior journalists, I think I want to quote him, has always said that, look, anytime we hear of corruption cases and a figure is attached to it, somehow there's a missing money. Yes. Whether the case is prosecuted or not. Immediately something is said that, look, this governor, we are investigating 4 billion or 70 billion. Whether you get the money back or not, there's a 70 billion missing somewhere. And so I had to do a long list of corruption cases. Even the Kayode fire me. There's an investigation of about we start recent. We are going to recent. Or something has happened. 4 billion. Bello Matawale, 70 billion.
And he's now Minister of State.
And he's a minister. He's a current minister. I remember that there was a back and forth between him and the Abdul Rashid Bawa. And he alleged that Rashid Bawa was demanding $2 million bribe.
Bawa is still in custody.
And Bawa, we still don't know what has happened to Bawa.
No, he's still in custody.
All we have had is that he has resigned. So
he's on holiday.
So Bello Matawale, former governor of Zamfara. We have Chimaroke Namani, like we said, Nuruddin, 5
That
case
one
is still in court.
2007.
The case is still in court.
2007.
He banned himself.
So we also have the former governor of Nasarawa State and immediate past chairman of APC.
Abdullahi
Adamu, 15 billion.
His own case, he has never. He even told the press. He told some journalists that case has been.
The case is there, nothing resolved. Rabiu Kwankwanso, the Kwankwansia movement himself.
Yes.
10 billion. That case is still whether investigation or in court. We have Peter Odili, the big one. This is a case
that one is even the funniest one though. You've never seen a court that will give an order.
Yes, a perpetual injunction.
It cannot even be investigated.
That it can be investigated.
And the big money is 100 billion.
100 billion.
100 billion.
At that time.
Theodore Orji, the former governor of Abia State, 551 billion. Is still
there is nobody that has ruled
Abia State.
That ruled Abia State. That is not under investigation as the governor.
Former governor of Gombe State, Danjuma Goje, also has case.
Even before him,
Aliu Wamako, the former governor of Sokoto State, 15 billion. Timi Praise Silva, who is also trying
governorship candidate,
get back to become governor. Sorry that I have to again so that Nigerians will understand the enormity.
It's good. It's important.
A basic, you know, Sullivan Chime of Enugu State, 23 billion. Sullivan Chime is also
Mr. Traveler.
Senator Alimadu Sheriff of former governor of Borno State, 300 billion. The case is still somewhere. Whether investigated in court, is still angry.
He has not even appeared in court.
Yes, Sule Lamido, remember himself and his two sons.
Yes, now.
Aminu and Mustafa.
Yes.
Has a 1.35
billion. And after that bail,
nothing has happened again on that case. Murtala Nyako, the former governor of Adamawa State. Ayodele Fayoshe's case has been there from.
He has two parts. He has two parts.
It has become Nollywood.
No, he has two parts. There is one in the first one. There's one in the one that one has to do with poultry that will never smell. Then the second one,
the one that dress,
the one that is that dress.
Yes,
they went to the
two cases, nothing has happened. Now we have Jonah Jan, Plateau State, 6.3 billion. That one they did. He lost there. Nothing. We've not had anything. Babangida Aliu, Niger State, 2 billion.
Uncommon.
Hey, you know, so governor servant, the servant governor.
The servant governor. His case is here. We have Gabriel Suswan from Benue State. I know Mr. Abaisakos will be interested in this one. The case is still hanging. That is a 3.151 billion. Then Ikedi Hakim, Imo State. Well, I think what was this the dancing governor? My people. That they bombarded. Like I said, I was trying to do a list.
My state now, Igbenidion
is also there. Yes, Lucky Igbenidion. Former aviation minister Stella Odu.
No, there are some that are taking their own case to heaven. No, you know there are some people that are taking their case to heaven. No case again.
Let me make a quick.
Pastor Olukoyede is now the chairman. Yes.
If you are a public official,
yes,
before and after your service, you have no EFCC case.
You have not done well.
You have no badge of honor. A case now is just like, when you go around Lagos, you see building, LAPCA also, you go and put their violation sticker. And in most cases, you find out that those people have approval. You understand? And then you go to their office, they come and remove it. EFCC has become, first and foremost, something fundamentally wrong happened to EFCC. The focus became Yahoo boys. Of course, they are low-hanging fruits that people can pick. They don't have the political influence and the resources to fight the EFCC.
They don't even have sons.
Secondly, the EFCC became a debt recovery organization.
Yeah.
You just go to EFCC if you know anybody and you say, if I say Joseph is owing me, they'll teach me how to frame my petition so that I can come within the purview and then move. But when it becomes a high political officer, then they become limp.
Everything just becomes no resolution.
And that is because, look at the current situation that we have. I wish Pastor Olukoyede did very well.
Very well.
I wish him well.
And he's talking tough.
But he has. I listened to him when he appeared before the Senate.
He has not talked like Waziri.
He spoke like someone who actually has a grasp
of the issues.
He said, when you arrest anyone in Nigeria for corruption, his entire community becomes your enemy.
Yes.
His political party becomes your enemy.
Associates
and friends, family members. So you have multiplied enemies fighting the organization. And that is true. But beyond that is the courage, the political courage
To do the right thing.
to do the right thing.
Can he? That's the
And the
question.
reason why it's almost impossible to summon that political courage is that those you are investigating are now your bosses. So if you go to the Senate, you are talking about Daniel Magoje, he's in the Senate.
It's in the Senate.
You are talking about Fabio, he's in the
Even
Senate.
when he was trying to cite an example,
Now-
saying using the Senate president, don't use me.
You understand what I'm saying? These are the guys who hold the key to your
Keys.
boss.
to your survivor.
To your survivor.
There
that
will be the
office.
committee that will be the committee that will be supervising your agency.
Do you realize that there was a time in this country when all you needed to be free from the EFCC is to leave your political party and join the PDP?
All your sins are forgiven.
Even with all the tough talking by Nuhu Ribadu
At that time, yeah.
at that time. And that was why people said that the former president of Obasanjo was using the EFCC. Look at
Because then he was just more of his political enemies. Yeah.
Look at the run up to the election of Yaradua,
Yes.
where so many viable candidates were shown files of their corruption, and they had to drop out.
And they had to drop. In fact, a lot of them didn't
When the
return.
president said-
A lot of them didn't return to the Senate
Yes.
and the House of Reps
Yes.
because they were against third term.
Yes. And then we also
Gary Umar Nahaba.
we also
I
saw-
interviewed him. I know what he said.
we also saw in this country how people who were accused of corruption in PDP joined the APC
And their sins are forgiven.
and they were given soft
And
landing.
the files are just.
You understand?
Yeah.
So Olukoyede, I'm happy he laid more emphasis on prevention than enforcement.
That's what he said. That he's going to do more prevention.
Prevention.
Yes. He said that yes, why it is also good to enforce. He thinks that as the organization will be more
Don't even allow them to get the money in the
don't
first
even
place.
allow them to get the money.
Okay.
And he talked about the monkey. I think he told the story about the monkey who would be if you kept banana and the monkey is watching and you have a cane and then you say the monkey should not touch the banana. After some time, the monkey will go and touch the banana because he feels that the only thing that will happen is to be caned.
Abi?
But if you can prevent the monkey
From
having
getting access to the banana, then you also save yourself of trouble.
of the
Trouble, yeah.
So the challenge for him is that those who appointed him, do they have the political and moral courage?
To ensure that corruption
back
is
him up.
prevented.
Yes, because you see, don't forget that Nuhu Ribadu stood in the hallowed chambers of the Senate and said, I have evidence of the corruption of the current president. We can see his hand right inside the cookie jar of the finances of the state.
That's
Nuhu Ribadu.
at that time, yes.
When he was the chairman of the
EFCC, yes.
he said that about the current president and so many others.
In Lagos State, when he was governor of Lagos State.
But
yes.
when he was dealt with by the same political system after Obasanjo left, you remember he was removed
Yes,
Yes.
demoted.
and he was sent to Kuru
Yes.
and he
To
was
go and do a
demoted
course and
the
demoted.
promotions were too.
In fact, Barrister Curtis, all of the EFCC heads that we've had,
They never land
from Nuhu Ribadu to
Waziri,
Ibrahim Lamode,
Waziri,
Lamode again,
I can
Magu,
explain to
all
you.
of them have
Do
left
you
in
know-
controversial.
Do you know that
you know-
the case of Nuhu Ribadu was telling? Because this was the guy who returned $15 million from the treasury of the Federation, citing bribery. Now, given what happened to him, those who succeeded him subsequently
Learned their lessons.
learned their lessons. Okay? And that was why I think Waziri succeeded him.
Lamode came, then Waziri, then Lamode came
Lamode
again.
was acting.
Yes,
at the
acting,
time.
then Waziri came.
Lamode was appointed as a substantial, the substantive chairman.
Chairman, yeah.
And then after Waziri, Lamode
Came again.
And then Lamode had his own problem. And Magu, who was his deputy then, came.
Came again.
And Magu
Had his own problem.
And
Bawa.
Abasit came.
And
Abawa
he
again.
prosecuted.
And no prosecution.
No
Despite-
prosecution.
No,
In fact, the Magu own, look at the allegations upon
He
allegations.
was still be promoted.
And nothing happened.
He was still promoted. He was still promoted in
But
police.
Oga FUHAD, there's two things that are very common in all of them. All the former
EFCC
chairman.
chairman.
Abuse of office and corruption.
But nothing, no prosecution,
no
nothing.
prosecution.
It's just
Nothing.
allegations
It's not
and
an
controversial.
But again, if you look at some of us that when you cover elections, what happened before election, many times so the EFCC they monitor the transaction of opposition, and those opposition know that why are you focusing on me? The other person is moving fund to whatever. But you are disturbing my own.
Forget that. Did we not see EFCC arrest people collecting 1,000 naira?
Yes, now even in Ondo.
Where are those? We saw them. We saw pictures of
Let me tell you, anyone who was at the convention ground of APC,
the primaries. No, most of the big parties.
And PDP.
PDP, yes.
We saw that millions of naira
vote buying, real vote buying happened there.
But they were equally there too.
EFCC operatives were
there. But one thing there is this. You see, this new
chairman, pastor, yeah.
I must confess, the one that I said preventing, to me, is being economical with the truth. Which preventing? Is he going to prevent CBN votes from being opened? Is he going to make sure that the politicians, the money is not exchanging hands?
Because again, I'm coming with a question by Sakoti. How do you prevent
by introducing measures that give civil servants and public officials independence? Last time I spoke about plural executive system of governance that they have in Texas and other states, where the governor is elected, his commissioners are elected. The accountant general of the state is elected.
So that level of independence. So it's not really about the EFCC. So is that what we are saying?
When you have that, and they are all accountable to the people, there's nobody sitting at the top who can. In Texas, for instance, the governor cannot call the commissioner of finance or secretary of finance and say,
"Let me have $5,000.
Transfer money into my account." He will say, "For what?"
No. I've listened to the minister of the justice minister in the US, and he said, "Look, I'm not answerable to the president. I'm answerable to the country."
Yes.
He said he doesn't intervene.
But here that a majority of the civil servants, it was the same politician that helped them to get the job.
But you know, it was in this same country that the immediate past attorney general frustrated the work of EFCC.
Yes.
Even keep some files. Keep some files.
So look, the problem is that we are not even willing to tweak our system and make it more functional. Now, you will never develop the courage to do what is right if you believe that your sustenance is from that job.
Yeah.
So long as it's possible for the one who appointed you to really look at the job of the CBN governor. It's a tenured job. He's protected. His tenure is protected. It can only be removed by 2/3 of the Senate voting. But you see how it has happened in this country. Jonathan removed Sanusi by suspension first.
What about Onoge?
And then this same person, look at the case of Onoge also. You understand what I'm saying? So once a public officer does not understands that I can be removed from my position and I have no protection, where is he going to get the courage from? So, and the president does not even need to tell the chairman of the party that don't go after this man, is my guy. His body language alone. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you, yes.
So these are important things. If public officials are not independent, because you see, institutions, when your institutions are weak and they cannot confront the system, you are not going to make progress.
Yes,
and how do you build strong institutions? Strong institutions have to be built by strong men. And then they begin to function, because institutions can't defend themselves.
Yes.
They have to be defended by people. Okay, look at this guy in the US who works in the State Department of the US, who wrote an open letter to President Biden and said that he was resigning his position because he didn't agree with the way the president was handling the Israeli-Palestinian crisis.
If not here, they will arrest him immediately.
Of course.
Before he reaches out.
They will tell him that it's a security threat.
Even people from his community will tell him he's stupid. How can you leave that kind of job? How can you resign from that kind of job?
So
even by Oga FUHAD, I think another thing that we need to equally, we as Nigeria, we are not even ready to fight corruption.
No, we are not. We are not.
You know, the issue of this guy, is it the man from Kano then who announced the issue of budget padding? Is it Jubri?
Yeah.
Was punished seriously,
and eventually
all of us abandoned.
Now he's not gentle.
Now he's not a Christian.
He now understands the.
Now you know the guy in Ijebu. The state. After all,
you are talking about Babalawo. Yes, our
No, the man is in court now. Yeah, the man is in
The
court.
system, everybody was carrying on as if
For him to have been able to, he got, for that kind of courage to speak up against the governor as a chairman of a local government and see the battle against him.
Nigerians don't hate corruption. What Nigerians hate is them not being the beneficiaries of corruption.
All right, I'm going to take a short break now. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back. And when we come back from this break, we'll start taking calls. We'll open the phone lines and start. So we'll take a short break, and then when we come back, we'll start taking phone calls and open the phone lines, of course, and start to read messages from her.
This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
All right, so we're back and it's still Political Roundtable on Mainland 98.3 FM. We have to take that break just to put ourselves together. It's been an interesting conversation on the roundtable this evening. Two issues. We've looked at the Senate looking at the possibilities of diaspora voting, and also some reforms in our electoral process when it comes to real-time transmission of results. And of course, we have also looked at the EFCC, the new chairman. His job is cut out for him. He has a lot of cases to deal with. We did a long list, and I think we didn't. I'm sure we didn't exhaust the list really of pending inconclusive cases before different courts. Some of them still under investigation and all of that. And I feel that, look, would he be able to really do the job? Is he going to is he going to do anything different? So if you're like my analyst in the studio who thinks that really
his job is even made more difficult by the Supreme Court, because don't forget that the Supreme Court gave a ruling that said the EFCC lacks the power
to even investigate state governors.
There's only state house of assemblies
that can investigate, and that is still pending, because again there are lawyers who have said that until we clear that doubt as to the powers of the EFCC, there are really no hope that we can tackle corruption the way we can tackle it. So much still hanging around.
Allow them to follow face Yahoo boys.
All right, let's start to pick phone calls. 09136 0000410 09136 0000410. Hello, good evening. Yes, good evening. All right, Mr. Kayode, please go on. Yes.
Good evening, sir.
I mean, you see, when we're talking about the issue of INEC chairman trying to apologize, trying to say sorry, you know, some people in the house, I mean, during the Buhari days, will tell us that when they are eating, they don't talk. It's just because the man is still talking, and that's the reason why I say probably he will not be able to talk to you now. You see, when you greet my back, I greet your back, and that's exactly what has happened to the man. As regards the EFCC, I believe that
Yes, I'm with you.
Down to his support is short. I mean, his close in the National Assembly that, look, don't talk about me. You know, you remember that scenario.
Yes.
Don't talk about this one on the left. The Adi was referring to them. He was not even taking care of what he was probably supposed to, for people that knew about what he had at hand. You see, they always probably keep all these things as if nobody knows. Look at all those billions of naira you mentioned just now. And from each one person to another. Is it not even enough for us to be able to move on as a country rather than going to loan or borrow money from here and there?
All right. Thank you, Kayode. God bless you. 09136 0000410. We have a lot of messages on our Facebook platform. I'll read all of them out, but let's take some messages and then we'll start reading the messages on our Facebook platform. Hello, good evening. Yeah, good evening. Yes, good evening, sir. We talked about it. Thank you, Mr. Kangwelina. Says bye-bye. Hello, good evening. Hello? Yeah, good evening.
Good evening to everybody in the studio.
Good evening, Prince Wise.
Thank you, my for me, the RCPC, what can you imagine together? All the council RCPC, you could face this EFCC, and the my own case in this. After that, you have to forget my EFCC, ICPC, the police, the next thing to go up there. And the people use our proper life. The because it's got stuck there. That's why I said keep pending. And those are tendencies that tell us today. Some of them want to be at the people right. But it's like that case to pending, they are still illegal countries, but students, society. But what I'm planning for is social force. Get a big more country, a few more judges, and assess them judge to one of the cases. If a case like 12, 1, 2, 3 years, that is enough. But not in Nigeria, is not the case. Then we have to pending. So I'm able to. If somebody is not capable of attacking you, let him go. This is possible. Let him be behind the power. We show that we are accommodation. It is still some message.
All right. Good evening, Prince White. Thank you, sir. Hello, good evening, Ufoma. Yeah, good evening.
Thank you very much. Yes, let me also contribute. The first issue is if we push our house for the embassy, then we can get it properly. I don't know how they are doing sentence and also being removed from the office. The same people also that are put in office, the same people also found allegation against him. If he's going beyond boundary and quietly do what? Remove you from the office. Before we round up, there is a minister that this government is there to appoint, and it is very interesting if they can appoint no reduce from your state as one of the ministers.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Ufoma. Hello, good evening. We'll take this call and then we'll take messages on our Facebook platform. Hello, good evening.
My name is Victor from Shomoli.
Go ahead, Victor.
Now, wow, all the money that I'm driving with my family.
Okay, the money we are reading out.
One of my partners say they have been something like that. Nigeria is not dying. Nigeria is not dying. Nigeria is not dying. This FUHAD, you are my friend. This is what chairman. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. Where are they? All this is one me.
Victor, take. Thank you, Victor. Just take it easy. He said he's driving at the money. But we have to do that list, and I must tell you that as they say, I had to stop because he was taking 3-4 pages.
Yeah, even many.
So we have to just stop. But let's just take messages on our Facebook platform. We have ᴜᴜᴜᴜ saying, I love this man. God bless you, sir. We have Benson Richie who is saying, who sent this message. Good evening, my great people in the studio. Happy Sunday to you all. Nigeria matters is getting worse every day. I wish God intervened because as it stands now, nobody knows where Nigeria is going. Thanks for the opportunity. We have Abdurrafiu Alabalakpe who is saying, kudos to the Senate for sounding it out again, that those Nigerians abroad should also have input in the electoral system in selecting who will lead them. So having diaspora voting in 2027 will be a welcome development, and this will serve as inclusivity of those Nigerians who are also living elsewhere on the surface of the earth. And also we'll need the quality and quantity of power supply, because without power, I mean electricity, the whole thing may be a mess up. So I also advise the Senate to make law that will also give Nigerians 24/7 power supply, and also law that will make data cheap.
Now, Lord, they bring light.
There's enough law already to guarantee that. All this will make it more easier for the job on INEC and the observance. And also, the Senate should not forget the EU security and other essential workers on election day. They also make law that will make them to vote on election day and where they are. Alabalakwe from Sabo, Nibaojo. I think even as journalists, we also want to vote. And that's where the idea of early voting comes in. We can vote like a week before the general elections. Why not? We have Dayo Dada who is saying, evening crew, the only way to restore INEC confidence is for the court to remove you know, the problem with Dayo is that he sends messages that we can't read on radio.
It's not even in some other programs that I have. You have a very beautiful, but he will put some certain things there that you.
And we have always appealed to Dayo that this is a public platform. It's not a village meeting or a WhatsApp group that you can say. You know, this is a regulated platform, and we have to be careful what we read out.
And you don't have money to pay the fine.
And you will not help us to pay if the fine comes. You know? So Dayo, we see your messages, but you know, you can be more, you know, decent with the choice of language. This is moderate. Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Curtis. You know, we have Shakira Gumbiade who is saying the same people who defended Buhari because of Oshibaju was on that ticket are here always lamenting. The same people who defended Buhari because Oshibaju was on that ticket are always here lamenting. The Nigerian factor always defending when our people are in government. We should work on it. Well, I'm trying to, you know, put that together, you know.
I can tell you what he's trying to say.
Okay.
That those who defended Buhari because of Osinbajo are now complaining today.
Okay.
There is nobody, look, people who defended Buhari on Buhari's merit. And if he didn't do well, the same people came out and say he's not doing well.
Yeah,
so I mean.
So and the same way that those people that are defending this government also should also be magnanimous enough,
bold enough to say when he's not doing well.
When he's not doing well, he's also not doing well.
Well, okay, we have Basil Chika who is saying it is very painful that in Nigeria a person like Mahmoud Yakub can still parade himself as an electoral umpire after all the damage and setback he did to the country and the image, when he ought to have been in scrutiny accounting for how he spent the billions voted for the ill-fated job that even disgraced the president's reputation. But I strongly believe that in the short run, what they are cooking will be done by them severally. Well, Chika Bende from Trade Fair Lagos. We have Prince Wise who say the four wise men, more blessings to you all. We have Kayode Olorode, I think he has called in. We have Akorede Alagesin Owo Olanrewaju is saying up Mainland FM. I'm really enjoying you guys. Thank you so much. We also have Abdurafiu Alabalakwe who say, do you guys know? And I actually want to read this out. Said, do you guys know if you keep on talking without associating yourself with one political party, it may likely not be there may likely not be any drastic change in our political system. What is wrong if all of you sitting down there in the studio become a member of any political party? Yes,
I know he's a member of
the APC.
Tell him I'm a card-carrying member of APC, and I cannot have a look in.
Okay.
And tell him that journalists, we don't have party.
And for us, but Sakoti is a card-carrying member of the APC.
And I've said that openly
to people. So
nobody has ever contacted me from the party. We don't collect dues in the party.
And for us who are journalists, we are a member of the fourth estate of the realm, and we are contributing our quota to nation development. You know, and that's the best way to put it.
And the problem of Nigeria is not that people are not joining parties.
Yeah.
Even those who are members of the party,
can their voices be heard in that party?
Majority of them don't even know what is going on in the party.
Even upon being a member of a political party, some of them they are buying the same friend, the same amount that they are buying.
I remember one of the senators, I won't want to mention him, who also wanted to become governor, and his party was holding primaries, and he didn't even know the venue. How much more you and I?
People think that the reason why we say these things, they are looking for attention. I know what to do to get into the groove. But it's just that I cannot do them because of these things.
Yeah.
We can still have our views. At least those who are listening, if they have good hearts, they can pick one or
two things. And what we are doing is just to get you thinking, really.
Nigerians, we all can belong to political parties to try to change.
Even for, I'm saying, a whole senator who wanted to become governor.
He said he didn't.
He collected form. And on the day of primaries, didn't know the venue of the primaries.
You remember the one of Minister of Aviation?
Yeah.
Also didn't know the venue of his party's primary.
That one will happen in Delta. You know the one of Professor Patu.
I didn't want to mention some names.
Okay, you've never seen a primary that wants to be taking place, and the voters register they are going to use for the delegate. They change it 5 times.
If that's the kind of political party you want us to join, I'm sorry. Then we have Father Bumi Osi Moral from Ikeja Cantonment. We saying, I salute you all, my gallant people in the house. How is your morale for this cold weather? Good job to you all from OC Morale at Army Barracks Ikeja Cantonment. Thank you,
thank
OC Morale. We have Akinde who is saying, good evening, the wise man in the studio. The new chairman of EFCC cannot do much because our system will not allow him. Even if he has a good intention to do the right thing, the Nigerian politicians will never allow him to succeed. We also have Alabi Ola who is saying, good evening, sirs. Please, I want to ask a question. Did INEC later present the results they used to announce Tinubu as winner of the election tribunal? Why not? You know, every political party had a copy of the results eventually. Electoral Act really need a total reform for real. And concerning the FCC chairman, I want to ask a question again. Can certificate... all right. Thank you so much. All right, Joseph Abiori is saying, well said to dial. Well, you can still drop your messages. Let's just take phone calls. I think we are fast running out of time, but there's still enough time to take maybe one more call, and then we'll call it a day on the show. Hello, good evening. Oh, Mr. Alakunle, how are you doing, sir? 1 minute.
I think we should be more concerned about collation than this IRF of it. IRF has failed. I don't believe it would ever be able to give you 100% response.
That's IREV.
Yes. So we should put that aside. Whatever the game is made at present, let's move on with that. Let's just make our collation tighter and tighter and tighter. That's all.
What do you think we should do with our collation? What should we do differently from what we are doing now when it comes to collation of results?
We need to create a system where we can monitor better from the polling unit to ward to local government. I think once we get that done, we'll be better.
All right. Thank you, Olakunle. We'll take one more call and then we'll call it a day on the show. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Fuad.
Yeah, good evening. The last caller for the evening.
Yeah. I enjoyed
Your name and where are you calling from? Sorry? Oh, Larry Bashir. Okay, please go on.
Yes. As usual, I enjoyed today's program.
Thank you.
That was exclusive. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, on diaspora voting, here in Nigeria, we have not shut this voting issue out. For instance, we have just 10 million Nigerians outside the shore of this country. I'm telling you, the result from outside the shore is practically 100 million. I'm telling you, that's very matter.
It's true.
You know what's happening? This is how we have been practicing this democracy in this country. Let us sort this thing out first, here. Let us fill our house first. I won't think of diaspora voting. Yes, on the ⴍᴜ of result. Yes, better. Let's do all these things. Then when we are done with all this, then we now look at diaspora voting. To me, I don't think we are right.
All right. Thank you, Larry Bashir. All right. Thank you so much. We're almost out of time. But 30 seconds. Your final take on the show this evening.
Well, like we said, the EFCC chairman has his job cut out for him, but will he find the political courage
to do it,
to do what is right? Because the big guys are supervisors. And then on the electoral reforms, yes, we need electoral reforms. But before we move further on other reforms, can we consolidate on the basic things
first?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Barrister Curtis Adigba, for joining us in the studio this evening. Joseph Olorisho.
Yeah, I want to just talk to EFCC chairman that EFCC office not church. So you should know the difference between EFCC office and pastoring a church.
Okay.
So they know that that's what he's going to do. Then to INEC, Imo State election and
Kogi, Bayelsa.
Let them disappoint me. No, particularly Imo and
under promise and over deliver.
Let them promise me that, or promise that they will not be how do you call it, supplementary election,
inconclusive
election in those states. And to the police, please and please
do your job.
Election, do your job. Make sure that people are safe.
All right, thank you so Joseph Olorisho for being a part of the show this evening.
Well, it's good that the new EFCC chairman is a pastor. He should know that the job given to him is a devilish work. He's going to work. He's going to face a lot of devil. So
and demons too.
And demons too. he should be prepared. He should work.
He should cast and bind.
More than talking. He should work. We should see his work. More than talking.
All right. Thank you so much, Nuruddin Adegbe. We're hoping that we'll have a real fight under Pastor Olukoyede against corruption. Well, I'm hopeful. I keep keeping hope alive.
Mr. Hope.
And then we hope that so one day we'll also have an elections that we can be very proud of. My name is SAHEED FUHAD. It's the Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. Let's do this again next week.